Well, hello, boys and girls. It's when we feel like 8 o'clock. I'm Pearl of Wisdom, and you're listening to my NHL Pearls of Wisdom, coming to you live from Helen's Place. I have done Toronto now, Arizona. What other ones have I done? I did Toronto, Arizona. Could have swore I did another one. And, I did something with, from John from Ricketts Picks. We did, but that was mostly just kind of promoting how well he's doing at his soccer picks. You can check that out in the videos. Vancouver is another one. And Winnipeg. You get the Winnipeg Jets. What do I mean by this? I mean, I'm doing projections for the future for these teams, whether it be, for the most part, for next year. Just a short insight into some of their salary caps, what they might be looking at. I got a letter from Lausan Khrushchuk from Russia, who likes the Florida Panthers. He asks, please tell me what they're thinking in Florida, as the owner has said that they want to cut costs and cut their payroll. Yet they shouldn't they be trying to win to get into the Stanley Cup again or the playoffs again? Thank you for your letters. We love your letters. We have Guido goes down to the letter room. Now he has to be like, we have to get him all wrapped up and stuff. And he has to go down the letter room. He does a Perlo dance while he does it. Of course. Goes down to the letter room and he's all wrapped up because of the corona. And he grabs the letters and he puts them in like with these little gloves on and stuff. And he brings them and he puts them on the letter table. And then we spray them down, and then we read them. And this was one of them. Fella from Russia wants to do the Florida Panthers. So I said I would do that. I did that video with John from Ricketts Picks. He's the best there, I said it. And I think it's Raj from Capper's Comparison. He was feeling a little down because we didn't mention him. He's doing soccer picks as well. And if you ever watched Capper's, his channel on Capper's Comparison, it's pretty cool. He takes all the Cappers that he likes, and he has a little chalkboard thing. Well, it's actually a marker board. And his daughter, he leaves room for his daughter, and his daughter draws on there and stuff. And he tells everybody what each capper picks, and then he picks a pick. I think he's 6-3 right now, doing really well. So go check him out, boys and girls. Actually, him and I might be doing some videos together. Why not? Why not in this time of social distancing and self-isolation? Might as well. I mean, that's why I'm doing these. Nobody's watching them, but I'm doing them anyways because it's fun. This is what we do, right? We just have fun. Okay. Let's get to the Florida Panthers. Yes, you're right, sir. I can't say your name. You know who you are. The Florida Panthers ownership has said that they want to cut costs. I imagine they're not getting many fans. This does not sound well for the organization. However, that being said, I have a feeling that they did so already when they traded. Well, I'm going to keep on talking here. They made a few trades at the trade deadline in order to cut some costs. And I'm hoping for your sake, or for the Florida Panthers' sake, that's all they're doing. They traded Vincent Trocheck, who was making $4.75 for the next 3 years. It wasn't bad, but there was something amiss there with Trocheck in Florida. We'll see how he does in Carolina, but they didn't seem to be too high on him. So I think it had a lot to do with the fact that they weren't going to make the playoffs. They're a tight budget team. They wanted to get rid of some millions to make the bottom line look all right. And they hopefully will be going for it next year. But when I do this video, I'm going to kind of work at maybe cutting some costs and keeping the integrity of the team the same. Because the real problem with the Florida Panthers was simply they signed Bobrovsky to $10 million a year, and Bobrovsky was Bob Poopty. And that is the thing. There is some things we're gonna do here to try to keep the integrity of the team and cut some costs with this. But when it comes right down to it, if Bobrovsky is not playing like number one goaltender and like a top 5 number one goaltender, all this may be for naught. Although I love Drager. Drager is good. And of course, we have Martin Ball. Craftsman. No, you're going Martin Ball. No. You gotta really enunciate. Martin Ball. Yeah, do it. Try it. Yeah, don't do it with your mouth full next time, but that's better. Okay, so let's get to some things with Florida. Honestly, I can't see them cutting much more costs than they already have, and I'll tell you why. They've really done a very good job of giving contracts to their top players. Jonathan Huberdeau is making 5.9. This is a guy who is almost going to be projected to be 100-point player this year. He's only making 5.9. To put that into perspective, Panarin for the Rangers just signed a contract for 11.5, and he's maybe just over points-wise than Huberdeau. So Hall is probably going to get 10.5 this year. He is way under. Huge value. And then there's Barkov. 3 more years at the same price, $5,900,000. Alexander Barkov is a Selke candidate yearly, almost a point-a-game player. Even though you've heard it over, I imagine if you follow hockey, you've heard it over and over again that he's underrated. And even though people keep on saying he's underrated, he's still underrated. Usually what happens is that people will find an underrated player and they'll say he's underrated so much he's not underrated anymore. But not Barkov. He's a superstar and he's only making 5.9 for the next 3 years. So I don't know what you want to cut costs on, but seriously, with those 2 contracts, if you're going to build around those 2 contracts and you can't afford to get somewhere near the cap, it may be time to move on, really. But let's go anyways. Mike Hoffman is a 30-year-old. He's an unrestricted free agent. By all accounts I've heard, they have no interest in signing him. I can kind of see that. At 30 years old, somebody's going to probably offer him about $7 million a year for 5 or 6 years. And I like Hoffman. He's a good shooter. He's a little bit selfish, and there's been some issues when he was in Ottawa. His wife apparently was bullying Carlson's wife and stuff like that. And who knows how the mix of that is in the room or how much is that true. But one thing for sure, they don't seem interested in signing him. Now, I hope that's because they are very interested in helping their defense, but we'll get into that later. Yevgeny Dadonov, 31 years old, making $4 million this year. He's an unrestricted free agent, and I haven't heard anything about anybody signing him. This would be, I would easily give him 5 years at $6 million, even at 31 years old, with the production that he's had. He will likely get that on the open market. Now, if they can't sign those 2 guys, they're in a little bit of trouble. Regardless of what we talk about here. I'm going to play that they got to sign Evgeny Dadonov. They have to. With the salary structure they already have with their 2 basically superstars, you have to go for it or drop the team. Really, that's the way I look at it. There's no use even trying if you can't go for it somewhat in this situation. Now, if Dadonov doesn't want to be there all of a sudden, then I guess no, but maybe not Hoffman. At 30 years old, I could see a decline in his game because he's a shoot-first player and he's not the fastest guy in the world. As he loses his foot speed, he's not going to be able to get in those spots to score like he does now, and you'll see his game drop off rather quickly. I can see that. But Dadonov has all the speed in the world. He looks like his legs are fine. He's a 60-point player. Easily give him $5.5 million for 5 years or 6 years, and you'll probably be fine. I think they'll sign him. I really do. Brett Connolly at $3.5 million. They signed him last year. It's okay. Brett Connolly, it seems to be, he's not the most conditioned athlete. He starts off well every year and tails off at the end all the time. They give him big minutes, and by the end of the year, he can't handle them anymore, and he goes down to the bottom. At $3.5 million, it's okay. You play him on the third line. But the thing is, he's not really a third line player. What I'm trying to say here is I wouldn't have signed him. He's an offensive player that doesn't have the conditioning to play in an offensive role. So it was a poor signing as far as I'm concerned. Eric Hall, at 29 years old, he was making $3 million last year. He had a really solid year in Vegas, made his numbers look really good. They got him from Florida for Trocheck, which didn't really, it saved him a couple million for the year. I suppose if you're not going to sign Hoffman, you're probably not going to sign Hall, and I'll explain as we go why maybe you don't sign Hall. Eric Vetrano, fantastic contract, and I really would like to see this guy play higher. I think he has a potential to be a 30-goal scorer, and he's only making $2.5 million a year. That's another reason why I'm not too unhappy with the idea of moving on from Hoffman, because Vetrano can take that position. Nola Chari showed some offense last year. They're going to play him higher. So, yes, another reason why you don't get rid of Hoffman. Colton Skeever, good fourth-line guy. He's getting 1.2. Nothing wrong with that. And then Brian Boyle is a UFA. He's 35. They may re-sign him at league minimum just to have some depth. And that's fine. He's a good room guy. But you got Dominic Toninato who can play that role. He's a restricted free agent next year, though. I think you get him at league minimum if you want to keep him. Then you have some interesting players. Alexei Sarala, who they got in the Trocheck trade from Carolina, looks like he was putting good numbers up with the Carolinas, with Charlotte. And then he went over to the Florida Springfield, where all their players did not have good offense last year. So his offense dropped a little bit. But at 23 years old, he just may be ready to fill a role in that top two. And that's what scares me. I think they did that with the sights of not signing Dadonov. It could work out. Maybe they know better than I do what kind of kid this Alexei Sarala is, but I don't see him putting up Dadonov numbers. And with the defense that they've made for themselves, having less offense, to me, is probably not going to get them in the playoffs. Then Lucas Wallmark, also got from Florida. He's a guy that he looks like he could be a player, but he plays way too perimeter. Maybe Q can start getting something more out of him than he is, but for my money, he's a restricted free agent this year. Maybe give him $1 million and say, give him a show-me contract and see if he can work in that. He's got to play in your top six as far as I'm concerned. He's not a third-line player. So give him $1 million, see if he can fill that role, and if not, then roll him out at the deadline, get some draft picks. Talking about draft picks, they have their first this year. This can look a lot better if they happen to win the lottery and get a top pick from there. But I'm assuming that they don't, since their percentage of moving up is very small. Even then, they'll get a decent player, but he won't be ready for a while. On defense, Eric Ekblad, again, they've did a good job of signing up their solid players for good money. Aaron Ekblad at $7.5 million. He's only 24. They got him for 5 more years at $7.5. That's pretty good for what you get at Aaron Ekblad. He's in 1-2 defenseman, and he should be playing 1-2. On a great defense, he probably plays 3-4, but still, he's good at $7.5. It's not a bad contract. Eric Yandel gets a lot of crap because he's not the most defensively sound, but he's a good offensive defenseman, and he's not that bad defensively. He moves the puck out well. It's that he's slight, and he play the physical game that you would ultimately love to have on every defenseman, but not every defenseman can be that. At 6'3", he's all the money, but not bad. by the end of that contract, it's probably not going to look great. He's 33 years old now. You might start seeing a drop. Anton Stroman at 5.5 for the next 3 years. He looked fine this year. We'll see what the decline is, but you got him. Good top 4 guy. And then there's Michael Matheson. They thought they were doing a lot like they did with some of the other contracts they did by giving him 4.8 for 8 years. They really liked him. They really thought this was going to be a top 2 guy and they were going to get a steal of a contract out of him. But since they gave him the contract, he has not played very well. In fact, he's played under the 4.8, which is pretty difficult to do. It's not that. He's played more like a 5-6, and sometimes he's been right out of the lineup. So I don't know what's going on with him, but they better hope that he comes and brings it together, because that's a large contract for a guy who's not producing that much. Then Mark Pesek, they don't seem to be too happy with or too thrilled to have him in the lineup. He plays forward now. I think they're probably going to let him go as a UFA and test the waters somewhere else. Mackenzie Weegar is a restricted free agent. This is a guy that they're going to probably sign for $3.5-4 million to fill out that bottom 5-6, and he's not bad. But overall, this defense is a little bit lacking. I'd like to see a better number 1-2 defenseman. Matheson is the main problem. And I would hope that they would use some of the money to go find an unrestricted free agent. But we'll get into that in a second. There's not much out there. One thing I got to say is this: Riley Stillman came in last year. He's not an offensive guy. He's not going to bring you a lot of offense. And when they brought him up, I thought, okay, they're going to give him a look. But he looked really good. And he signed up for 7 two-way contract for the next 2 years. So I imagine he's going to fill that role of Mark Pesek, and you're going to see Ekblad, Yandel, Stroman, Matheson, Weegar, and Riley Stillman, with Joshua Brown, who I was just about to talk about. You give him the league minimum, and he can fill out your bottom 7. I say they need help on defense, but that shouldn't be that bad of a defense. They might go out to the unrestricted free agent market and see what they are going to get. Now, if you're going to save a little more money, Henrik Borgstrom did not put very good offensive numbers in the AHL last year. He played in the NHL the year before and got 18 points in 51 games. They sent him down to the minors to get some more seasoning. They thought that maybe he could use some more work. That offense is a little off, though, because the offense, he had basically the same percentage of points in the minors, but everybody was not doing very well in the minors. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. I think they have the feeling that they're going to use him on the center role and maybe not sign Eric Holla. If they do sign Eric Holla, they maybe want to sign him to a 2-year contract or something like that. If he doesn't take that, then they're going to roll the dice and go Borgstrom in there. And that might work out okay. That'll save him some money, I suppose, although all of this is risky. What's the most money you're going to make? Making the playoffs. So I'm not sure I'd want to be taking these risks on these players. Mason Marchment is probably ready for a 4th-line role, but he's not going to save you all that much money compared to the guys that you already have there. Really not at all. I'll go down to their depth chart here, and we'll look at Mason Marchment's only going to be a 4th-liner in his career. So he's 25 years old. He's probably ready. You got Colton Sceviour and Mark Pesek. They're going to let him go. Okay, Mason Marchment goes in there. That'll save you some money. So that's one move that will save them a little money for next year. I don't know how much money they want to save, but I hope it's not too much for the sake of Florida Panthers fans, because if it is, they're probably not making the playoffs next year, and they're probably going to lose a lot of money from that. The other players that they have in their Owen Tippett, he had a pretty good year next year. Maybe they'll give him a shot, especially since if they're not going to sign Dadonov, actually is how it's said, I guess Owen Tippett's going to go. And again, these are risky things. Risky things. These are risky decisions because Owen Tippett, I'm not sure if he's ready yet. He's 21 years old. He's still got a lot of growing to do from what I can tell in his game. Maybe they know something that I don't know. But if you're going to do that and play that many rookies in your lineup, you're not looking good. And like I said, if you have Barkstrom and Huberdeau, or Barkov, I should say, and Huberdeau signed up to those contracts, you should be rolling, man, trying to fill out that roster and going for it. The big problem, again, is Bobrovsky. And Chase Prisky, they may give him a shot. College guy, they got him again from that trade where they sent Trocheck to Carolina. He looked like he was pretty good. He looked like he might be able to play. So they'll give him a shot. But besides that, in their defense, they're pretty weak. They're probably going to have to sign some guys at minimum contracts so they have depth in their lineup. And that's going to cost them some money. When it comes right down to it, Bobrovsky's got to play. If Bobrovsky plays at the same level, or at least having the same numbers as he did in Columbus, and it's really looking like Tortorella is just the greatest coach in the land. Every time you put a goaltender in with him, he seems to be the best thing ever. Then he goes somewhere else and he's, okay. And that looks like what's happened with Bobrovsky. But if he turns it around, this is a playoff team, regardless of what I just said right now. If he doesn't, it all comes down to that. I want to see Driedger get more of a shot. 25 years old, he looks like he could be the next Binnington, but what's going to happen if you got Bobrovsky at 10? That's their biggest problem. What if they have to buy out that contract? I can't see it happening. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I hope for you Florida Panthers fans that Bobrovsky works out, because we really need those Bay Area teams to do well for us to succeed against teams like the NFL and NBA and our growth. So I'm rooting for you, but it's dicey with the way that ownership is talking. Make sure you hit the bell, subscribe, comment down at the bottom. Tell me what your thoughts are on the Florida Panthers. I want to hear it. Have a great day. Lots of love to you. Hit the subscribe button is what I meant to say.